7 signs that it might be time to find a new team. Number 1, if the coach is abusive. Look, there's a difference between coaches being hard on players and being tough. I was a tough coach at times. I did not deal with nonsense. If players fell short, they were going to know about it. But there's a difference between being abusive and being tough. Being abusive is insults. You're stupid. How could you make such a stupid play? That's ridiculous, stuff like that. Whereas, being tough is you've got to be better than that. That's the wrong play in that situation. And you knew that. You know better. Let's get it together. Let's go. There's a difference between being abusive and being tough. If your coach is abusive, it's probably time to find a new team. Number 2, there are toxic cliques on your team. This happens a lot. Obviously, sports teams are all about relationships, whether it's baseball, softball, basketball, football, whatever. And if there's a lot of toxic cliques where players don't want to include this other player, they don't want to include you, or there's a lot of gossip and bad mouthing and trash talking within the team, it's probably time to find a new one. Number 3, there are toxic parents drowning out the others. Parent behavior is especially hard to deal with because you don't want to just necessarily get rid of that family because the kid might be really nice. But if you have a core of toxic parents who are just bad-mouthing the coaches, really abusive to referees, bad-mouthing other kids on the team, second-guessing coaching decisions and playing time, it's something that's hard to get rid of without just sort of cleaning house. And again, you don't want to punish the kid for their parents' behavior, but a lot of times you just have to give the whole family the boot and they can go somewhere else. So if there's a lot of toxicity in the bleachers, it just might be time for you to find a new team. Number 4, if your kid doesn't feel a strong sense of belonging, sports are meant to be fun and the relationship part of it is so important. If your kid doesn't feel like they really belong on the team, they just haven't made a lot of good friends, they just don't feel comfortable to be themselves and to really laugh and just enjoy the ups and downs of their sport, then it just might not be a good fit. And that happens sometimes. Obviously in your middle school team or your high school team, your college teams, you're not going to be able to choose who you play for anymore. You're stuck. But at travel ball, youth ball, all that stuff, you can find another team. So if your kid just doesn't feel like they click with this group and they just aren't really excited to be there from a relationship standpoint, then it might be time to find a new team. Number 5, if your kid generally dreads going to practices or games, this might be the coaching style, this might be how long the practices are, how intense they are, the players on the team, whatever it is. If your kid really doesn't want to go, it's probably time to either have a talk about their sport or the team or just to figure out what's going on. But a lot of times it can be the coaches and the team and the whole dynamic where it just might not be a good fit. Number 6, if the experience doesn't seem to be really developing your kid as an athlete. If you're halfway through the season and you just don't feel like they're getting better, practice-wise, they're not getting the reps that they need, they're not getting the attention they need in games, they're not getting the coaching that they need. This is a legitimate, criticism of coaches. If they're not focused on every player getting better, not just the win-loss results, not just rolling out a team that can win games, whatever, some teams are just better developmentally than others, and you have to make important decisions here as a coach. It's not just about playing time, we'll cover that in a second, but is your kid actually getting better? If they're getting better every season and they're having fun and they're respected by their coaches and they like what they're doing, you're in a great situation. But if you're not sure they're getting better, it might be time to find a new squad. And the last sign you might be ready for a new team is if you're just not getting any playing time. Now look, it's not always the case you need to jump ship if you're not getting a lot of playing time. It is okay to be a bench player, especially on really good teams where you're getting better, the coaching staff is really good, and you're getting pushed and you're just not a starter. That's okay. You don't have to run and jump ship every time you're not starting. But if you're never seeing the field, you're never seeing the court, you're never getting a chance to get out there and demonstrate the skills you're learning in practice, then it's not going to be a good developmental situation. So you have to get some decent chunk of playing time. Even if you're a part-time player, even if you're a bench player, you're not a starter, that's okay. You still have to get on the field some amount. So you just have to weigh the pros and cons. And if you're look, I'm a third baseman in baseball and there's 2 third basemen in front of me and I never get to play third and they're just way better than I am, it just might be time to downsize to a less high quality team where you can actually see the field and play your primary position, whatever it is, or you need to learn a different position. This happens in all different sports. So sometimes you can make a team that's really, really elite and that's wonderful, but you might not see the playing field. And so you have to weigh the pros and cons of, again, getting development, enjoying the teammates and camaraderie and the coaches, but also actually getting on the field because that's where you do demonstrate your skills and get better.